Welcome to NX10 Design Simulation Level 1 training series. And this video training series is for everyone who is related to design, engineering, and also the validation or finite element analysis protocol which you use to study big why this is happening, to fix or to optimize your costing or maybe to optimize your process. And the analysis protocol is very important in the research and development engineering portfolio. And various other people they can use who are related to the design engineering or the complete research team who are related to the decision making domain, or you can say the protocol. And here primarily we'll be looking at the Narsen solver, which is embedded at the core of NX10, and we'll feel the power of Narsen solver as well. And before moving, let us look at our detailed agenda here. And total there are 12 chapters, and we'll be starting with the introduction to finite element analysis. Then in our next chapter, we'll be looking at design simulation, and very important aspect of the expression or the formulation and function based driven association with your part, maybe the features, or maybe any sorts of changes which you can drive through expression. That will be looking at this chapter 3, and how to link bodies so that down the line that may be controlled through concurrent engineering by various departments, and how a single changes can synchronously affect and update across the domain. That will be looking at chapter 4, link bodies, how you can simplify and idealize our model preparation. That also will be looking at chapter 5, and we'll look at the powerful features of synchronous modeling in chapter 6. And by studying this synchronous modeling, we'll be looking at how we can model a imported model that may not be having a feature based all history, and that could be modeled not in Annex in any other software, but how we can handle, and irrespective of that, how fast we can move and model and completely configure our changes. And primarily that all simplification can be done through synchronous modeling. And in next chapter we'll be looking at material properties, which is very important and key, and we'll look into all the advanced protocol here as well. And very fundamental pre-processing activities, the mesh creation or conversion of your physical model to mathematical model is through the mesh or the mathematical discretization, that we'll be discussing in chapter 8. And in chapter 9 we'll be looking at simulation, different file creation, its importance, and how you can control those. That will be looking here. And next we'll be assigning the loads, and in chapter 11 the constant, the boundary conditions, and finally we'll post process and review the result. These are the 12 different chapters which will be covering under level 1. Let us start with our chapter 1, the introduction to finite element analysis. Here also we'll deep dive, and agenda is straightforward here, and we'll be starting with the finite element analysis introduction or the typical background. Next, we'll look at the overview here, and we'll be looking at strength of materials, its importance, and how you can use that in finite element analysis. And next is theory of failures, idealization and its complete process, FEA algorithm, what if big scenario, and this revealing the secret also will be discussed. And finally, the validation at typical industry myth, environment variable and its impact, that also will be looking at. So let us start with the finite element analysis introduction, overview, and other part. And before moving here, the primary part is here the important aspect of analysis that will be deep driving and understanding. And before moving further, I need to straightforward highlight here the prerequisite. The number one prerequisite is you need to have the design understanding. Next is the failure theories. Next is very important, strength of material. Next very important aspect is your statics, the free body diagram and complete mechanics you need to understand. And fifth very important part is the vectors. And finally, the matrix theory, which is basically the backbone of finite element analysis, that I suggest to go through all these theories so that you can take the complete benefit of this package which I am discussing. So let us look at finite element analysis. What is that exactly? The finite element method is an analytical tool used to perform stress and vibration analysis of mechanical system, or you can say structures. The origin of finite element methods are in civil engineering, and the techniques does in fact superficially resemble truss analysis. However, the method matured and was preferred nowadays primarily in the aerospace industries, mechanical industries, marine industries, and you can name any industry, consumer products, like maybe your mobile, like maybe your microwaves, whatever you can actually dream in your mind, that all are coming under the finite element analysis and validation protocol. And now all these industries are preferred because the methods have been matured. And over this year, if you see the research articles published are in millions. And if you see 10 years back, it was within 5,000, and now it is in millions. So that directly says that the technology is matured. An accurate stress analysis, of course, is not the final word on the suitability of your design. Good judgment must be used to ensure that loads are anticipated correctly, that the structural material actually has the strength and life characteristics promised in the property data, and that possible determinantal factors are properly accounted for. So, nevertheless, a precise stress analysis removes some of the major uncertainties in bringing an engineered product to market. So this is the primary importance of the protocol, and advanced stress analysis has traditionally this particular technology been a matter of putting a turnaround uh, to your overall system, how you perceive and stresses problems usually had to be matched to a catalog of predetermined solutions that mathematicians have hammered out over the ages. So, if the shape of the stressed workpiece, or maybe the system, or maybe your machine uploads did not fit these known solutions, the analyst had to make it fit as best he could, generally by maybe the investigating some simplified shape or devising those, or maybe the loading system that approximated the case at hand. And primarily this all answer which we are getting would be approximated, and they were better than no stress prediction at all. So when you could get very close approximation reports or results, or maybe the suggestions, then that directly can modify the overall orientation where we are going. And with finite element analysis, the analysts no longer have to tailor a part or problem to an available theoretical solution, no matter how complex the structure or system looks like. So unlike traditional analysis that particularly uses continuous solids and the attempts to fit continuous mathematical equations to them, the finite element system treats a loaded part as being built up of numerous small connected structures, or widely it is known as the elements. So since these elements can be put together in virtually any fashion, they can be arranged to simulate approximately exceeding complete or you can say the complete resemblance with your theoretical or physical model. So let us look at this particular scenario. If you are looking at any particular part, and there, if you can understand this particular scenario, and this is your physical model, and in finite element analysis, what we do is we split that into countable number of small pieces known as elements. And if you see this, yes, straight away you can understand what I mean to say. And the small pieces, this are known as elements, and everywhere they are connected through nodes, and you can get result in between this also. If you go for more elements, you can get more results in between also. So how close your physical model, this is your physical model, and this is your analytical model after dividing. So primarily, how you can simplify the overall scenario. The finite element method is based on the solution of large array of metric equations, the matrix equations, and appears complicated to the novice. However, the method is based on fundamentally simple concept involving basic stiffness and deflection equation. These are the two different part. The stiffness equation and deflection equation. Stiffness is all about the k and deflection is a. So F equal to k into x, and this is applied, and this is also the material property, and this is unknown, and that we can find out. So this is the fundamental equation F equal to k into x, the matrix based formulation, and these are the known data, and this is the material stiffness, and this is the unknown, and this particular unknown can directly be used to compute your deflection, your stresses, your strains, your all the member force, and all the unknowns that you can derive from this x component, and that is the very important part of your equation system, stiffness and deflection. The method appears complex because a structure model can have thousands of elements or even millions and billions, each with its own set of equations. Because of the large number of equations and corresponding data involved, API is practicable only when applied on a computer. So because you couldn't able to solve all this million, or maybe in case of let us say a complex model 50 million mesh, so it is pretty difficult to compute all this. So when you assign this to a computer or a higher capacity solution based workstation, then automatically you can automate overall tedious process, and that you can assign to a computer. The finite element method has been widely used and respected in all fields of engineering, and specifically in high-end mechanical engineering, medical devices, etc. And the accuracy of the result still depends largely on the experience of the analyst making the stress prediction. However, the method has become incorporated, that typical method, into the traditional design cycle of many engineering and manufacturing discipline because of its reliability. Because time and again the companies, they do benchmark and they record the data and they compare that. So based on that, if you see the international research publications, there are millions of research paper has been published and investigated different benchmark data, and that directly can help the designers or the analysts to deep dive and understand the real protocol. So you may be wondering what exactly this finite element analysis do for us. So this is a very good question. The finite element method is not restricted to determine only the static stresses and deflection. Most large commercial programs are capable of providing a number of types of analysis: the static analysis, dynamic analysis, implicit explicit analysis, nonlinear analysis, impact analysis, and so on. Natural frequencies, modal, harmonic, and various other analysis can be done in this particular platform. So Static analysis is basically one of the very standard methods that solves for deflections, strains, and stresses within a structure that is in a static of equilibrium state, or the you can say state of static equilibrium under a constant state of applied loads. The material is generally assumed to be linearly elastic, and it is purely within your Hooke's law. And based on that particular condition, if you see the elastic model, and this is the proportional limit, and when stress is directly proportional to your strain, and so this is your elastic limit, proportional limit, and within that, after that, the material behaves nonlinear, and maybe it will yield at a particular point, and primarily we apply our equations within this particular protocol. The material is generally assumed to be linear as I discussed, but special cases such as plastic deformation, maybe creep, maybe large deflection, and stress steepening can also be handled in some cases. So natural frequency, or maybe the normal mode analysis, calculates the free vibration, or you can say the natural frequencies and associated mode shape of the structure, which directly can create resonance. This type of analysis is used to predict critical operating conditions for many automotive components and system, as well as for the aerospace uh, system, and is an economical system by looking at the large structure such as vehicle bodies and frames, and directly you can reduce lots of cost involved while doing a trial and error practice. But here directly you can finalize that what are the internal natural frequencies. And fatigue analysis is also used to assess structures under various loading conditions, and these conditions are referred to a fatigue duty cycle, and its components include load variations and the material property related to performance of the material under fatigue duty cycle as well. So these are the different purpose, what exactly the finite element analysis do for us. And now a big question wondering in your mind, how does finite element analysis do it? How a FEA program solves. So this is the point which you need to have a clarity. The applied load are translated into a simple system of forces traveling through neighboring elements through the kernel or endpoints. So what does it mean is, if you see this overall particular model, this is my domain, and when you divide this into some countable number of small pieces across this periphery as well as over this as well, when you divide this, so these are the points where the loads are shared and transferred from one point to another and one point to another and so on, from the top to bottom. Everywhere this shear loading is being computed and taken care, and maybe at the corner or maybe at the end point. Deflection of each point indicate the strain in your element. Strain is directly related to the stresses that everybody you know based on the our engineering theoretical experience. The force at each node depends on the forces at every other nodes, since the elements combine to represent the entire part or structure as a system of springs. This is the simulated model that acts like a spring. The result in a system of many, or you can say the many equations, requires your matrix solution or approximation and use of the computer. So that basically globally you apply a algorithm by adding all the independent equations, and finally you form your global solution matrix. So it takes care all the effect, what is here collectively, what is here. Maybe if you look at a particular element, it's having four different result data, and you can get average of element 1 result plus element 2 plus element 3 plus element 4. If you look at this 4 element, and so that over this region you can get the result, and like that, if you go for average node result, node 1 plus node 2 plus node 3 plus node 4, etc., over this particular area, then also you will get the average result. So better you drill inside, you get the closure result, but primarily the all algorithm is about a global solution matrix that combines each and every independent one, and that can be quite easily handled through the use of computer. And when you assign that complex element structures can be solved, and you can get a pretty straightforward answers. And now you may be wondering how you particularly use the finite element analysis. How you use? This is the question we are going to answer. How you will be using FEA program? This is the question in your mind. A basic step in applying finite element analysis is the construction of model that breaks a structure into simple standard shape or element, or you can say a discretized sequence of element that already I have shown here. This is done by discretizing. The first principle is discretization. Discretization, or you can say meshing. These elements are located in space by common coordinate system, and the coordinate point or nodes are locations in the model where input, that is your forces, and output, that may be a displacement or stresses or strain data, are provided and are also required to describe the geometry of the structure to the finite element solver program, which currently we are using here as an Nastran. Before moving into further concept, as I was discussing about the prerequisites, we'll be discussing here about the strength of material. If we look at strength of material, some basic understanding of material strength must be introduced, because finite element analysis uses these values to determine how a part made of a certain material reacts when a force or forces is or are applied to that particular part. So mechanical properties of the material plays a very key vital role. So you need to understand these mechanical properties of material. This is one aspect. Second aspect is your electrical properties of your material. That also you need to understand. The mechanical properties of material are determined from tests that gives us a relationship between the stresses and strain on a material. Each material has a stress strain curve that determines certain point for that material which are critical. Maybe you can say the yield point, ultimate point, or safe allowable limit, that is basically found through your material properties data. And stress is a force per unit area, and if the material tends to stretch or lengthen, it is called tensile stresses. If the material tends to compress or shorten, it is called compressive stresses, and that all you know. And if the forces tries to shear the material, it is called the shearing stresses. For example, if this is basically your model and this is your axis, and you apply load here and you apply load here, because of this F1 and F2, if this will shear, what it will look like is it will shear across that particular plane, and this is sliding. So this shearing condition also primarily responsible for failure, and that is also part of the strength of material, and the different unit like lb per inch square, or maybe in the SI, Newton per meter square, you need to configure accordingly. And strain is calculated by how much a dimension on your model changes due to load being applied, and divided by its original dimension, change in length upon original dimension. And if you look at the change in length upon original length, that is you called as a strain, that all determining factors you have to also compute, and the elastic limit corresponding to maximum load that can be applied with the material still your exhibiting your elastic behavior. And yield point is a point on your stress test curve where the material has been suddenly impacted, and the property is suddenly changing, and the higher strain is induced, and that is the cause for a failure, and that you need to understand also. And yield strength also you need to understand, because that is the maximum stresses before the material has permanent deformation. And also you have to look at the ultimate strength and the maximum stresses or the failure, and that is called the tensile strength as well. So this also you need to understand. So these are the critical point where I think you need to brush up, like the allowable stress, yield point, yield stress, ultimate stresses. These are point you need to brush up before deep diving into this. So I request all to understand this. And let us look at one very important point, which most of the time we uh, think that we know this, but I don't think without having a proper case studies or application scenario, you can really understand this particular concept which I am explaining: factor of safety and margin of safety. If you look at the factor of safety is used because the actual working stresses on a part might exceed the strength of material. The factor of safety is usually calculated from dividing the yield strength of the material by your allowable strength. If you look at yield strength of material divided by your allowable strength of material, that primarily everybody you know, the factor of safety is usually between 1.5 to 4. In between this range, you have to keep everything. But I'll give one perspective here. A factor of safety between 1.5 to 2.5 is used for highly reliable material where the load and environment conditions are not severe. This is 1.5 to 2.5. So I told here 1.5 to 4. So if you look at one and uh, 1.5 to 2.5, this is reliable material. You may be wondering what is reliable material. That means you know about that material, you know how the properties they behave, you also know the input conditions very clearly, your environment variables, boundary conditions, and in that circumstances you can go for 1.5 to 2.5 as your factor of safety. And a factor of safety between 2.5 to 4, this another protocol where you can go for this particular range is used when the material properties are not reliable, or the environment conditions are not exactly known, and some predictions or assumptions are purely hypothetical. So in those big question areas, you can go for the higher factor of safety greater than always 2.5, and is between 4 or exactly 4. In some cases greater than 4 also you can go for. And when doing the finite element analysis, you need to know the material properties because they have to be associated to the mesh. You also should determine the factor of safety to be used to used. So when you review the result of your analysis, a decision can be made if the right material or a design, or maybe the change in maybe the width, maybe in a particular dimension, maybe the whole, anything can be done. That judgment you can directly make out of your this particular decision. And maybe you may be wondering, what is this margin of safety? So margin of safety is basically factor of safety plus one. So whatever the margin you are giving for extra strength or to safeguard your failure. So if my factor of safety is 1.5 and I'm using for my design 2.5, not factor of safety 2.5, 2.5 as my final safe factor, or you can say 250%, then the margin of safety is 1. And in many cases, we don't use the margin of safety, but this margin of safety is found handy in very critical high order domain like aerospace, and maybe you can see the racing cars, or maybe the conditions where you use higher variation from the environment. So in that scenario is very important to understand this. Let us look at the big why. And next we'll look at what if scenario. You need to understand the reason behind this finite element analysis, why we'll go for this. And primarily, if you look at any ordinary problems, like maybe a shaft or maybe a particular beam which you have learned in your engineering days, and if you look at the practical model, that may be a crankshaft or that may be a sheet metal part, and what is the difference between that? You cannot standardize this sheet metal exactly to your beam or directly a plate also. That is a typical membrane. Or maybe if you talk about a cylinder block, or maybe a engine's particular component like crankshaft or maybe camshaft, so that directly in many time they do not behave like a beam, or maybe many times they do not behave like a standard objects or the formulations which you know, like a pipe or beam, etc. The reason being unique here in finite element analysis is we can assess any type of model and maybe a solid model protocol. So that is the uniqueness about this. If you have a solid, if you have a surface, or if you have a any sorts of simplified model, then here you can analyze and solve any such cases, irrespective of the type of similarities in your engineering domain. So because of that, here is the particular approach, finite element analysis, which can solve any such problem. And in finite element analysis, our primary purpose is to test what is going to happen if this is the case. Let us say there is a simple beam, which is a cantilever beam. What is going to happen if I will load this with a 10 kilonewton load? What is going to happen, not 10 kilonewton, what is going to happen if I'll be loading with 15 kilonewton? What is going to happen if I'll go for 20 kilonewton? What is going to happen by keeping the 10 kilonewton fixed and reducing this cross section? What is going to happen by keeping this 10 kilonewton fixed and changing the material? What is going to happen if I'll introduce a in-between support? So investigating and studying different other what if case is the real power of finite element analysis, which you can really unfold and you can understand this and apply to the fullest. So I believe this introduction section gave you a foundation understanding what exactly is the finite element analysis, and you understood what, how, when you can use this particular scenario and how you can apply this further, that we'll look into. Thank you.